Now, technology is revolutionizing healthcare, but how do we navigate that fine line between innovation and intrusion? The fusion of technology and healthcare is exciting and inevitable, but it also raises critical questions around data governance, privacy, and patient empowerment. Are we equipping patients and clinicians with the right tools that enhance care, or are we complicating the healthcare journey with overwhelming data and complex systems? With me today is Rafic Habib, Managing Director for Australia and New Zealand for First Line Software and Clinovera. And in this episode, we talk about patient engagement and interoperability, exploring the essentials for advancing healthcare delivery and enhancing patient outcomes, problem-solving approaches in health tech, the pros and cons of building bespoke solutions versus adopting an off-the-shelf technology, and the intricate balance of managing healthcare data, navigating the challenges of governance and privacy while ensuring data is accessible but not overwhelming. Collaboration starts with a conversation, Team Health Tech. Let's make it happen.
Welcome to Talking HealthTech, featuring content and community about technology and healthcare. We acknowledge the traditional owners of lands these conversations were recorded and pay respect to elders past and present.
Hey Rafic, how you going?
Good, mate.
Good.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, and look, I've decided that this is my new recording studio while I'm here in Hamilton, here in the Gardens. But yeah, it's
Don't blame you. Look at the backdrop.
not a bad spot. We get the occasional visitor walking past as well, but that's good that we're in amongst the community in a beautiful location. But for those that don't know you, Anne, it's been a while since we've last caught up on the pod. At least tell us who you are and what you do.
Start with my name, I guess. Rafic Habib, Managing Director for Clinovera in Asia Pacific. Clinovera is a global engineering house. We provide software development for clients, anything from a startup all the way to large corporates.
Yeah.
We've got global partners across many disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
The company specializes in a number of verticals: e-commerce, finance, warehousing, automation, and healthcare, of course. And that's where I come in. My background has always been healthcare, as you know.
Yeah.
All the way back to Clinic to Cloud and through to now Clinovera.
Amazing.
Clinic to Cloud is actually a client. Still is a client.
The full circle. I love it.
Full
I love
circle.
it. Yeah. Hey, and so that's really interesting. So global organization and many verticals, new to Asia Pacific, or like the first dedicated kind of presence?
Yeah, dedicated, so to speak. So I've been engaged as managing director for APAC to grow our presence here.
Yeah.
New. That's an interesting question. So Clinic to Cloud has been a client of Clinovera's and First Line for the last 10 years.
Yeah, right.
So we've had a client here for so many years, but we haven't actively been chasing new opportunities, and now we are.
Yeah, awesome. And you got that strong experience in the healthcare space, particularly on the technology side.
Yeah.
What kind of opportunities in healthcare do you see, some of the capabilities that Clinovera has to really kind of dive into, if you know what I mean?
As you know, I've always been passionate about particular aspects of healthcare, the patient engagement side, the interoperability side, and those are still relevant today. The discussions in any panel globally around healthcare, in the healthcare space, is around those two topics come up all the time. I know there's a buzz around AI at the moment, but underlying all that, interoperability, patient engagement are still key to improving the way healthcare is delivered. I guess you can find engineering anywhere, but finding an engineering partner who really understands those segments and can help you navigate the complexities in healthcare is probably key here.
Yeah.
And I still see a lot of growth in those two particular areas.
Yeah, gotcha. I hear from some partners that look to, they've got a set of almost solutions that can be white labeled or out of the box, which is a good strategy too. There's some that build things totally from scratch based on what they are. And so, like, what's kind of the approach that you guys take to be able to solve some of these problems?
We partner with the client. So if the client wants to build from scratch, we can. If we can find them something off the shelf that, they can customize and use rather than, starting from ground zero.
Yeah.
We also do that. We offer a consultative approach. That partnership is critical. So the readiness on both sides is important. So the client has to be ready, willing, accepting, have a plan to execute, and we'll work with them either way.
Having a plan to execute and having that readiness piece, that's pretty important, because often, like, someone might think, hey, I've got this really cool idea for an app, or we need to build a solution, and this would be great, and then I need to find someone to build this for me. And that's kind of how sometimes the thought process goes. Like, in an ideal world, how should that process be?
Good question. I'm actually, I'm passionate about this. As you know, when I wanted to build a startup, first thing I did was sit down and write it all out. Created documents, and I've delayed clients on that because of that. Because yes, you have an idea, it's a light bulb moment, but it's just an idea. If you don't document it, if you don't write down what you want, you don't have to engineer it, you don't have to architect it, you don't have to overthink the technical. You just have to spell out what you want from the idea, what outcomes you want, what experience you want for your users, and then there are teams who can help you do all the technical components, whether it's UX, whether it's architecture, whether it's where do I host it, and all these questions need to be answered along the way. But you need to spell the idea out in writing. I remember doing it in words and sketches, just hand sketch diagrams. But as long as you spell it out, then it makes it easier to get what you want. Because as you know, in the development world, sometimes you want a blue button and you get a purple button and you're wondering why.
Well, that's a really big point around just generally, in healthcare, it comes up so often, this point around communication, and it comes right to the point of building solutions, because you might document something and put in a lot of detail about, this is how I think the app should look. But I imagine for you'd be quite interested in why do you want it to do this, as opposed to like, what do you want?
Great point. I guess this is a point of difference that I see for Clinovera and for First Line. Where the team gets passionate about the project. So they're not going to be just, yes people. They want to know the why. They want to be engaged. We have amazing tenures in the business. My right-hand person in Australia has been there for 17 years in the business.
Nearly as old as you.
Yeah, nearly as old as me. Exactly. Yes. So the team, and I've always taken that approach. When I was a client, I take that approach. I take time to have a, once a month, just a Q&A with the team, tell them about where the company's at, what our next steps are, what the vision is, what the engagement's like. Customers are buying, customers are not buying for that reason. So bringing your dev team on the journey with the why I think is critical, because then you get a lot more engagement, you get more thinking, you get a product that's much closer to what you want, as opposed to that's not what I asked for.
I would imagine also that if you're working with a dev team that is across what all the emerging technology and capabilities are, and you're communicating to them what you're trying to achieve and how things are going. I know from bit from a founder's perspective or a non-technical person, you might have asked a question 5 years ago and it's just not possible to do this anymore, but things change a lot.
Things change all the time, absolutely. I remember we had a few scenarios like that in the past where, when we first started the startup I was at, getting a word editor in a browser was difficult. Now it's the norm. That's a classic example. In 2013, it was mission impossible. And we had to do so many workarounds. But technology keeps changing. It moves fast.
So it's important to work with those that kind of keep up with that as well. And you mentioned, so you've got this global perspective too, because Clinovera has got a good presence in the rest of the world as well. I'd love to learn about what you're up to in other parts of the world as well.
So there are a few projects going on globally. In the US, the projects are a bit bigger, obviously. The healthcare organizations are bigger. So there's a number of projects going on with InterSystems, with Epic, across the world. And then on the e-commerce side with Optimizely and others. So there's a lot of excitement. Obviously, AI is a big topic at the moment. Almost every vendor has either a early AI product or has a strategy, and we're getting involved with some of that implementation with some of that stuff, which is really cool as well.
Excellent. And so do you see anything coming from, outside of Australia that, those that are, creating technology solutions here locally should keep an eye on? Or how do you kind of keep across what some of these emerging trends are? Yes, like we can see a lot of the interest and excitement in artificial intelligence. There's a lot within that whole kind of bucket too to unpack. Yeah. Like I always think that to see what's happening in a space, you need to look somewhere else in the world. Is that kind of how it works, or what's your take on that?
Interesting. In the healthcare space, there's innovation going everywhere. I think we're batting well, as whether it's Australia, whether it's New Zealand. I think some of the tech that's coming out of here is quite amazing. I don't think we're as behind as we used to be like 20 years ago. We used to lag behind the rest of the world. I'm not seeing that. And I'm seeing that the engagement, so some of the topics that I referred to earlier, the interoperability and we're leading the world on that front. We're doing some amazing stuff on that front. Obviously Fire from here is a classic example.
Yeah.
So there is, so if you stay true to your mission, to your vision, I think we can win.
Yeah, gotcha.
As a startup, or anybody, startup or scale up.
That's interesting seeing different parts of the world, and there's the US and all of that. But I know you're doing some cool stuff in the UAE as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and so can you tell me any examples of some of the opportunities or challenges or some examples of stuff that you're doing in the UAE?
So as you know, the UAE is investing in health a great deal across the board, continues to invest in health. There are areas that are mature, but that continue to invest in, like Dubai and the UAE. And then you got markets like Saudi that are emerging very, very fast. They have a very strong vision, a 2030 vision, and they've got the funding to support that. So there's a lot of activity in that space. And again, the underlying topics don't change. So information when you need it. So I heard one of the Saudi health minister, I think, said it's better to know than not to know from a patient care perspective as a clinician. But the underlying, so interoperability, patient engagement, and there's a lot of talk around AI. So there's definitely an appetite for some of the things that are happening here to be deployed there.
Yeah. Gotcha. And what about other challenges around, say, when we talk about AI and there's the utilizing more data, issues around governance and security, are these kind of topics front of mind in these locations as well?
Oh, absolutely. So like I said earlier, that's a great line that I heard from a physician's perspective. It's better to know than to know. But whether it's UAE, whether it's here, whether it's the US, there's still a struggle around how to manage data better. Struggle between privacy, our rights to privacy, ownership, and accessibility of data. So the clinician needs access to treat. But then there's probably another angle around this is, what's too much data? What's going to cause a data tsunami for a clinician? Right? So this is...
Well, this is it. It's we make all of this information available, but for what reason? It's kind of and if anything, I hear of when we're creating a solution, looking at how much data should we capture. Well, let's capture all of it, then we can work out what to do with it. And one argument against that is that the more data you're harboring, the more you're a target towards getting susceptible to attacks, and if you didn't need it in the first place, then maybe you don't need it to catch.
And how do you surface the relevant data at the right time? So I've been speaking about data tsunami for a while, but I guess it's interesting. How do you make sure the clinician gets what they want, the right information for that episode of care? And how do you exclude data? So there are interesting challenges ahead.
A lot of interesting challenges ahead. And so thinking then for Clinovera and looking ahead, so the ideal kind of client to work with you, whether it be at a particular stage or within a particular vertical of healthcare, who are the right ones that should be getting in touch with you?
Interestingly, right now, my last two clients, one's a startup, one person. And the other one is one of the largest hospitals in the country.
Okay. Somewhere in between there,
So I want it all. More. So again, if we were to, we have a large engineering pool, so we're quite capable as an organisation. We understand the healthcare space. So yeah, we're happy to have a conversation. And again, I go back to that initial principle of organizational readiness. I've said to clients, I'm like, I don't think you're ready to do this. And they weren't.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'll engage with you. I'll put an engineer on the bench, but they'll leave after a month
right.
if they don't have the right amount of work or the right work coming through. So organizational readiness is probably critical here. So do you have a project defined? Do you know exactly what you want? You don't have to have the technical specs, but you have to have the roadmap, the vision of what you want documented, and then we can pick it up from there and help you deliver it.
Super cool. And lastly, then think about where your priorities are at and what's going to be keeping you busy. What can we look forward to seeing from Clinovera over the next 6, 12, 24?
Again, focusing on growing the region. We've grown a lot already in the past year or so. We're excited about the opportunities. There's a continued investment in healthcare, which obviously will keep us busy.
Yep.
And delivering solutions. So the more we can deliver around those core values of, whether it's interoperability. So a few of the projects that we're doing now are interoperability, and the rest are bespoke development.
Yeah.
So it's very much within our niche. So that's exciting. That keeps me going. I love talking about that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I get too excited.
Well, no, the excitement is infectious, and Rafic will put the details for Clinovera in the show notes of this episode for people to check out. And obviously got the presence on the website as well as the members. So Rafic, appreciate you making the time. It's funny that we're so busy that we had to come to Hamilton to meet when we're both in Sydney.
Yeah,
but
that's all right.
It's great to have a chat and look forward to doing it again soon.
It worked out well.
It did. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking Health Tech. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this episode with someone who might find it valuable. For more information and resources about healthcare innovation, visit talkinghealthtech.com.